with Tim Gilbert and Julie Snook. This is Racing Dreams.
Oh, how good is it? How good is it to be back, Julie Snook, Racing Dreams?
Good morning to you, Timmy. Good morning to you at home. We are back for another season of Racing Dreams. This time, the autumn. I tell you what, it amazes me that they just keep letting us come back.
Oh, don't worry, we won't be leaving. I'm sticky taped to the seat. Let's have a look what's on the show.
Life at home with the world's best jockey. We sit down with James McDonald as he embraces a whole new role away from the track.
A huge day for Michael Friedman, and James McDonald is on board Blanc de Blanc, racing for a place in the Golden Slipper. We catch up with him.
Plus, the racing enthusiasts kicking up change in the thoroughbred racing industry. That and
But first, it's Group 1 racing at Royal Randwick today. And of course, we have the Blue Diamond in Melbourne. And that's where we will talk to Ray Thomas. Of course, we'll find him at Royal Randwick, the racing editor of the Daily Telegraph, Jules.
good morning to you, Ray. Looking dapper as ever.
Good morning, Jules. Good morning, Tim. Welcome back, guys. And you've timed your run perfectly. Of course, Group 1 racing back in Sydney today with the Surround Stakes and the Chipping Norton Stakes. Magnificent weather here at Randwick. And, of course, there's also 3 Group 1s at Caulfield featuring the Blue Diamond Stakes. We might still be in summer, but this is autumn carnival racing at its best.
Of course, today we have Animo back. I tell you what, that is a name on everyone's lips because we've only got a few more chances to watch this stellar stallion in action.
Yeah, that's right, Jules. He'll be retired at the end of this season. Today he runs in the Chipping Norton Stakes, aiming for his 8th Group 1 win. He's won more Group 1 horses than any of the great champions Godolphin has raced around the world. So that gives you an indication of just how good he is. Look, he's a hot favourite for the Chipping Norton Stakes. He's drawn the right barrier. He's got the world's best jockey, as you mentioned, James McDonald, to ride. And he should win, but there's some good rivals in this race. Fangirl and Hinged are very good mares of Chris Waller. Chris has trained 10 winners of the Chipping Norton Stakes since 2011. Of course, Winks won 4 of them, so he knows how to win this race. These 2 mares will keep Animo honest, but like all champions, he just finds a way to win, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. And remember, he came second in the Golden Slipper, and what he's done since, just extraordinary. A huge day for James Cummings in both Sydney and Melbourne. Barber lining up as favourite for the Blue Diamond, and it's a pretty open field. That was the most amazing win at Rose Hill by Barber, missing the start, and the way that Huey sort of navigated his way to the front.
Yeah, in the Golden Gift back in the spring, I think you're referring to, Tim, it was an astonishing performance. But then he resumed at Sandown, which is where the Blue Diamond is run today. And I think it's important for your viewers to know that at Sandown, he showed he can race up on speed as well. He jumped very well that day, settled right up on the speed, dominated the race. The longer that race went, the more he was going to draw clear and win by a bigger margin. He didn't win by a huge margin, but he always had the race in control. But you're referring to that performance in the Golden Gift. It, as I said, was astonishing. In the Blue Diamond, they will go like, they'll fly up front. It'll be a very frenetic tempo. So Barber's drawn middle of the field, drawn a nice gate. Whether he can hold that position remains to be seen, but I think he'll settle about midfield, and then we know he'll come with that strong run. Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott also having a great run with their 2-year-olds. They have the other unbeaten 2-year-old in the Blue Diamond, the Instructor. He'll be up on speed doing his own thing. Can Barber catch him? It'll be fascinating to watch.
Ray, I want to ask you about Nature Strip. There has been a lot of talk about him following the Lightning Stakes. We do know now that he is aiming for a 4th TJ. Chris Waller came out earlier this week and said, look, he looks fine to us. What are your thoughts? You know, Wayne Hawkes spoke on radio this week and said if it was him, he'd be retiring Nature Strip. Are we jumping the gun a bit there?
Look, I can understand where Wayne's coming from. Nature Strip's an 8-year-old gelding. He's rising 9, and obviously he's closer to the end than the start of his career. But being a gelding, he's a long time retired and he is a champion. It wasn't that long ago he won at Royal Ascot and the Queen Anne, and even more recently won the shorts here at Randwick back in September and looked as good as ever. His 3 runs since have been indifferent, and I can see that Lightning Stakes first up last week was certainly below what we know Nature Strip can do. But one thing I've learned in racing, guys, and in all sports, you've got to give a champion a second chance. At the moment, Chris Waller went on social media yesterday and said there's nothing wrong with the champ. In actual fact, he's jumping out of his skin, likely to barrier trial before the TJ Smith on April 1. I'm not making excuses for him, guys, but perhaps the firm track at Flemington was against him. He was only beaten a couple of lengths in the end. Maybe he needs just a touch further than 1,000 metres. And if he comes to Randwick on April 1 for the TJ Smith Stakes and gets a little bit of give in the track, which generally speaking happens in Sydney in autumn, who's to say the champ can't make it 4 in a row?
Oh, yeah, it's look, I'm not with Wayne there about writing him off too early, to be honest with you, even at the age of 9. Now, going to the other age, to the juveniles, 2-year-olds, the Sweet Embrace today. I know that a great friend of the show, James Harron, obviously very excited about Blanc de Blanc, Michael Friedman.
Yeah, I think she's the horse to beat in the Sweet Embrace, and I think we all saw her run in the Inglis Millennium. It took the Golden Super favourite in Learning to Fly to run her down late. She's got a bit of an awkward draw, but her 3 runs so far, she's shown she's right up in the best 2-year-olds of her generation. She's in the Golden Super mix for sure, but Tim, she's got to win today. Her prize money is way down, so she's not even in the top 30, so she must win the Sweet Embrace. If she does, she automatically gets a start in the Golden Super. So a lot at stake for the connections of Blanc de Blanc. Indeed, all the connections of the 2-year-olds today. We've also got the Skyline Stakes, and there's a colt there called Shinzo, and I think he's the horse to beat. He's only had the 1 start. He ran 3rd to Red Resistance and King's Gambit in the Canonbury, so he's got the right form going into the Skyline. And remarkably, his mother and father, Snitzel the sire, and his dam Samaretti, made this day their own during their race careers, because Snitzel won the Skyline as a 2-year-old and then won an Oakley Plate as an older horse at Caulfield. Samaretti won the Blue Diamond. So is that an omen, guys? Yeah,
interesting. And we're actually talking to Snitzel. We're talking to John Masara, of course, one of the great sponsors of the program, very, very soon right here on Racing Dreams. Thank you, Raymond. We will talk often if that's okay with you.
Look forward to it. Thanks so much, guys.
Now, it's been a big year for champion jockey James McDonald, engaged, a new baby and the title of World's Best Jockey. I
caught up with the star hoof ahead of last week's Lightning to see how he's adjusting to life as a dad and what's on his radar this autumn.
Is that even?
Well, James, welcome to Racing Dreams. Lovely to see you, and thanks for having us in your beautiful home. Speaking of home, life's looking a bit different for you these days. How's life as a dad?
Yeah, no, going really well. Obviously, Caitlin's controlling most of it with Evie, but we've got a pretty busy time, so it doesn't seem to stop. But it's good to come home after the races and see a smiling baby anyway. She's getting to an age where now she's moving a lot more and smiling at you, and I think when I go and grab her sometimes at maybe 6:30, that's the best time, because she's just having a good old stretch and life's so good for her, you know.
I feel like it must be pretty good for you at the moment, professionally as well. I mean, world's best jockey.
It's something we're really proud of, obviously, to have a look at it's only been going a short time, I think 5, 6, 7 years, and to join the list of jockeys that's already there before me, and probably the ones that are coming after us as well. It's a who's who of the list. Probably what's caught my attention more is what it's opened in terms of overseas exposure. I think it's definitely helped in a lot of ways, and getting international rides and maybe being the first border call anyway.
In terms of international rides, obviously you had the success in Hong Kong as well. Is there any inkling, any part of you that wants to head overseas and ride?
Well, not at a particular moment anyway. I think we're pretty lucky here in Sydney. The racing's going so strong. The horses that we're riding are phenomenal, and we're getting a little bit of luck as well. So there's no reason to pick up and move away at this point in time. I'd love to get back to Ascot this year, and if we can, find the right horse to take me over there. I hear a whisper Animo's might be heading over, so we hopefully chuck our name in the hat for him if he does venture over there.
Obviously, it's one thing to have the great rides, but in terms of your consistency, you have been so consistent. Is there anything that you're putting that down to?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's something you don't really think of. You just go out there, apply your trade the best you can, hope for a little bit of luck as well. But I think as I've got older, as any sportsman, I suppose it's the old cliche, they work smarter, not harder. And consistency is obviously a great thing, because if you're not riding winners on a Wednesday or a Thursday at Kembla or Gosford, you're not going into a Saturday full of confidence. Confidence is a wonderful thing for a jockey, and it's a snowball effect. And if you're riding really well during the midweeks, it will snowball into a Saturday, and that's where the pressure rides become. And if you're going there high flying, well, it's hard to beat you.
We're coming into the Autumn Carnival, of course, and your association with some of those names you've mentioned continues, the likes of Animo. But how's your mate Nature Strip? How's he going? 8 years of age now, you two have got this incredible bond.
Yeah, we do. I think he's only got a light sort of autumn ahead, with maybe 3 runs culminating in the TJ Smith. So it's not a taxing campaign for him, so he should be up for it. And even though he's probably a horse that can't get better, he has to maintain that, and even if he does come off a little bit, which he's entitled to, it's still probably good enough to be competing against these sort of horses. Even though there's a lot of up-and-comers coming through, nipping at his heels, he's still going to be the one to beat, isn't he?
He's such a quirky character too, and it's just been such a privilege and joy to watch the two of you over the years, because it's almost like you've grown together and you've achieved the heights together.
Yeah, it's been a love-hate relationship, let's put it that way. Like, I was just reading a stat not long ago that he's had 35 starts, he's won 20 of them, but he's been beaten 12 times at $2 or less. So you can see why people love to hate him, yeah. I suppose. But he's just been a phenomenal horse to us, and for what we thought he would ever achieve, it's just blowing our minds. So arguably the best, well, he is the best sprinter in the world. Over the last 12 months, he's the reigning champ, so let's hope he can come and do it again. And he's going for a 4th TJ Smith, which, if he can achieve that, that's in, I wouldn't compare the two of them, but 4 Cox Plates, Winks, 4 TJs, we won't get ahead of ourselves, but he's aiming to be in the elite status, isn't he?
Oh, he certainly is, and it was so lovely to sit down with James and meet his new little bub Evie and see him and Kate at home. Of course, he rides the favourite Animo in the Chipping Norton today and Blanc de Blanc for a spot in the slipper. We will have part 2 of that interview with James next week.
Oh, he's an absolute champion, isn't he? Now, for now, we'll head back to Randwick. Joining us is the General Manager of Racing for the Australian Turf Club, James Ross. James, the sun is shining, my dear friend. And look, your gang, who look after all the tracks, have had a tough old time. But we're looking at a drier autumn. How good is that?
Yes, good morning, Tim, and good morning, Julie. Look, Randwick's looking in superb order. We've got a great piece of turf today. We're improving from a soft 5 probably into a good 4. But you know, we've had exceptional results over the last couple of months off the back of, I think, about 2.3 metres of rain throughout 2022. So our tracks are firing, and we're sitting here ahead of 8 weeks of fantastic Group 1 racing. I think we'll have around 23 Group 1s, and 10 of those will be amongst the top 100 in the world. So yeah, really exciting times for the Australian Turf Club, Racing New South Wales and Sydney Racing.
$41 million in prize money on offer this season. We're also celebrating 10 years of the championships.
Look, we are, and I think that's a significant milestone. I think Racing New South Wales and the Australian Turf Club have invested year on year in our racing program. We've got, you know, a $5 million Queen Elizabeth, a $4 million Doncaster, recent investment in the All-Age Stakes up to $1.5 million. So you can see we've really strengthened that racing program, and as we continue to go ahead throughout autumn, we'll have some fantastic results.
I know, James, you've been around the whole idea of bringing the international flavour to the carnival, and we've seen some fantastic horses and individuals from around the world come to our carnivals, and we're going to get more through the autumn and then the spring.
Look, we are. We've got 18 horses arriving today from Europe, from leading stables such as William Haggis and Joseph O'Brien. And I think that's particularly satisfying because it's our biggest shipment to arrive in Sydney. And it's a number of those horses are one-way horses to Australian owners, which really complements our product year-round. But the quality of the horses this year, I think, is to a new level. We'll have Dubai Honour, who's obviously placed in a Champion Stakes in the UK, very similar profile to a Dabe. And the one-way horses are even better. We've got a Group 1 winner, a July Cup winner in Alcohol Free, who'll go to Gay Waterhouse. So they'll add a huge amount of depth. And to see Joseph O'Brien, who's won a Melbourne Cup at such a young age, and he's been targeting Sydney racing for some time. He's got a horse in the Sydney Cup called Cleveland, and he's second favourite. So he's really brought depth and quality in the horses that he's contributing to Sydney racing. So I think it's going to be a carnival that goes from strength to strength.
James, I spoke with James McDonald just earlier in the program, and I asked him whether he had any interest in riding overseas because, that carrot has been dangled in front of him by other jockeys, but he wants to stay here, and he says that the reason he wants to stay here is because of the quality of the horses, the quality of the races and the quality of the prize money. And we're now seeing that with all the internationals coming, and we've got international jockeys coming out as well.
Look, definitely, and James has been so successful over the last few years. He's Sydney's champion jockey. He's got a great set of jockeys that are available here against him, and the young apprentices that are coming through. Seeing the likes of Tyler Schiller, Dylan Gibbons compete so heavily in the premiership this year has meant that Sydney racing has got some of the world's best jockeys, world's best trainers, and world's best horses. You just heard on the record of Nature Strip, and horses like Animo. We're so fortunate to have those horses that are amongst the world's best, and to see them featuring and to be talking about horses that may be winning their 4th TJ Smith Stakes across this period, that's particularly exciting and something that I think is very satisfying from a club perspective, that we've continued to invest and we're getting those results. And today we'll have Hugh Bowman flying back from Hong Kong. We'll have 3 of our races simulcast for betting by the Hong Kong Jockey Club. So you can see Sydney racing globalising at a rapid rate, and I think we're the fastest growing product globally as we enhance that racing program and deliver some really good results.
Yeah, Zach Purton as well, of course, Jimmy Cassidy's son-in-law.
Yeah, it'll be great to see Zach back. He's been so successful over many years, multiple premierships in Hong Kong. He's regarded as amongst the world's best, and he'll complement that Sydney Jockeys Room and add a next level of competition. And I think that's what everybody's relishing. It'll be great to see Tom Marquand back, who contributed a couple of weeks ago with an early double. And it's a Jockeys Room that people strive to be part of.
Yeah, I think we often take for granted just how lucky we are to see the world's best jockeys and thoroughbreds here in front of us. Let's have a quick look at today, the Chipping Norton Stakes. How's the track faring today? Conditions look absolutely spectacular at Randwick.
Look, they do. It's our 98th Chipping Norton Stakes. It's a race that's been won from horses from Far Lap through to Winks. So, it contains 9 Group 1 winners. So I think it's going to be exceptionally competitive. People see already one of the best horses in the country in Animo, and a real Randwick favourite, take on a number of horses from Chris Waller. And some of those horses I regard as the best fillies in the country. We'll see Montefilia, Fangirl and Hinged in that race. But I think if we can get the track to a good 4 around that point in the afternoon, that'd be particularly satisfying, and I think a number of horses will really relish that going today.
Yeah, and if you're new to the game, get out, and you're in Sydney, get out to the track. It's so easy with the light rail. It is a fantastic day, and it is a sparkle-arkler. So, James, always good to chat, my friend. We'll catch up with you during the week.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Julie.
Sparkle-arkler.
Yeah, it's an old skiing term. It's an old skiing term from the Winter Olympics in Vancouver, a sparkle-arkler.
Stay with us.
Bluebird Day.
Still to come on Racing Dreams.
Huge day for Michael Friedman as he star filly races for a spot in the Golden Slipper. We catch up with him for a chat.
Welcome back. You are watching Racing Dreams. Can you believe we're now into a 4th year of this show? And one man who has supported us from the very beginning has been the wonderful John Masara.
Yes, the great John Masara, and Arrowfield Stud, the home of so many champions. John, good morning. And today, if you look at Sydney racing, or you look at the racing in Melbourne, Arrowfield has its sprinkle everywhere.
Well, we have some representatives out there, Julie and Timmy, so we're hopeful of a good day.
Easter is just around the corner, which means it's sales time. How are things going out there on the farm ahead of the sales?
Well, things are busy. We have 68 horses to sell at the Magic Millions. We've got 23 horses to sell next weekend in Victoria, in Melbourne, at the Premier Sale. So there's a lot of activity at the farm at the moment, but all's well. And we've been through some difficult weather conditions in the last 12 months, but we're out the other side and we're hopeful of putting on a very good show at Easter particularly.
Yeah, looking forward to coming up in a couple of weeks' time and seeing you. And look, how do you think the sales have gone so far? I was up there for Magic Millions, then we saw the Classic Sale.
Look, the Classic Sale was slightly soft from the middle down. The Magic Millions was in line with last year. So I think we've got to be satisfied because last year was a stellar year for sales. And if we could be around those levels, I think we've done well as an industry. So I'm pretty happy with the sales to date.
In terms of your catalogue, any particular little ones that you're looking forward to seeing go through that sales ring?
Look, Julie, I cannot tell you, it's probably the strongest lot of horses pedigree-wise that we've had, and it's also the single biggest lot that we've ever offered, 68, in the one offering at Easter. So it's, you know, there are only 450 in the catalogue, and we've got, I don't know, 13 or 14% of them or something. So 1 every 7 or something will be ours. So I can't differentiate at this time. But if you ask me that question as we get closer to the sale, I might give you an answer because they turn themselves inside out during this preparation period. The exercise, the feed, the grooming, they do change quite a lot. But we've got something for every taste there and we'll just see what happens.
We're just watching some pictures of when we've been up there at Arrowfield Stud, and you've got such a brilliant team up there too, who the young ones coming through the ranks, they are so passionate about the breeding side of the industry and they do such a brilliant job with these yearlings.
Yeah, I love the team that we have. Some of them are from all parts of the world. We've got Japanese and French and Ukrainians and all sorts of people in the team and a hardcore of people that have been there a long, long time. And so they've got the Arrowfield ideals, they work hard, they've got conviction about what they're doing, and I'm very proud of them, and they seem to come up trumps every year when it comes to sale time. They do produce an excellent product by the time the sale comes around.
Let's look at a few horses. Remark, of course, will trial on Monday. And I've watched with very close interest Remark because I was up there at Arrowfield with you when he was spelling there for a while and went through a couple of medical things. But boy, oh boy, real deal.
Oh, he's come back bigger and better than ever. We're very confident about him getting right up to speed to the very top. We think he's potentially a Group 1 horse. And he's running in the Challenge Stakes next Saturday, but he'll have a soft trial on Monday just to bring him up to scratch. And then 2 weeks later, our aim for this prep is the Galaxy, Group 1 Galaxy, and he should sort of be in that race on very reasonable weight terms. And it's a handicap Group 1, and I think it'll help him. So I'm, very confident about his. We know how able he is. I'm very confident he can put his best foot forward this prep and hopefully deliver us a Group 1 sprint win. How high do you think he can climb, so to speak, John? When we're looking to the spring, what do you think he's capable of, John? I know what you're getting at. I've already started sniffing around for another slot because our slot is already committed to Mazu. We might have another starter if he comes up to scratch. But he's got to prove to us he's at that very level. And next Saturday will be a test because it'll have a lot of Group 1 horses in it and it'll have a number of likely Everest starters in it. So we'll get a bit of an idea next Saturday. And it's on a weight for age basis next Saturday in the Challenge. So he'll meet those horses on the same terms that he would meet them in the Everest. So That'll be a test for us, Julie.
Here we are again. It's in February and we're talking about
well,
the
why not?
Everest.
I've got a funny feeling your phone might be running hot if Remark lives up to expectations from those. You won't need to make many phone calls. But just on that front, Marzu, what an exciting prospect. So good in last year's Everest. And look, you had the foresight to take Marzu for 2 years in a row, the offspring of the beast from the east, Morris.
Yeah, very proud of that horse. Owned by good people and a very good syndicate, trained by a tip-top trainer, and he's done everything right, and he's just kept climbing the hill. He improves at every start, and I think he'll be cherry ripe by the time the Everest comes around. But we should be seeing him in the next week or two. He might be in that race next Saturday, the Challenge, but he'll certainly be racing shortly. Yeah, he's right up at the top of the hill at the moment, Marzu. There's not much between him and the best sprinters in the country.
Well, John, always a pleasure to chat. Thank you once again for all your support this season. We look forward to seeing what you and Timmy get up to when he heads to Arrowfield later in the year.
Have a good day at the races.
Get the chef ready for the charcuterie plate. I'll see you soon, John.
I was waiting for it. All eyes on the Sweet Embrace this afternoon as the 2-year-olds race for a spot in the Golden Slipper, Timmy.
Yes, Jules, someone that knows all about winning the greatest prize for 2-year-olds is Michael Friedman, who trained Stay Inside back in 2021. Today, Michael has star filly Blanc de Blanc in the Sweet Embrace, racing for a start in the Slipper. I'll pop down to his stable for a chat. Well, here we are at wonderful Randwick at the stables of Michael Friedman, and little 2-year-old gelding yet to race here.
Yeah, horse called Undivided. One of Derby Racing's, they're good supporters of mine, so he's probably 3 or 4 weeks away from a barrier trial. Quite a nice horse. I'm pretty happy with him so far.
You've got a lot of juveniles and some very promising ones.
Yeah, we're sort of very heavily sort of laden with 2-year-olds, which is a good thing. Probably about 80% of the stable, which I think, you know, sets us up well for the future, particularly if we can find a few that can gallop a bit. At the moment, we've unveiled a few nice 2-year-old fillies in particular. So yeah, looking forward to the next 4 to 6 weeks and seeing if we can turn up Slipper Day.
Yeah, well, it's a couple of weeks ago now that we saw Blanc de Blanc finish second in the Millennium, and flashing finish. Didn't parade all that well, nice and hot and sweaty.
Yeah, it was a hot day and she just had a bee in her bonnet for some reason. Don't quite know why, because she's never sort of really been like that before, but she did get herself a bit worked up. I was a bit sort of concerned before the race as to how she'd run, but she ended up running a great race. You know, the winner was very good, but I think, you know, we were first up since December. A little bit of improvement to come out of it, and I'm not waving the white flag just yet.
She doesn't have to go in the Slipper, does she? She needs to win a race, obviously, to get there, which is all very likely.
Yeah, I mean, she'd need to win one of the lead-ups effectively to get in. But as I've said many times, I think, you know, I believe if you belong in a Slipper, they'll find a way in. I think if you're chasing prize money to get into a Slipper, usually that means you maybe not sort of good enough to be a genuine chance in it. So, you know, she'll get her opportunity in the next week or two, and, you know, if it works out that way that she does, obviously we'd be very happy, but there's plenty of other options as well.
Mexico, he's very promising. He had a wide gate, had to travel in difficult circumstances, but still did very well in that race.
He did, yeah. He worked pretty hard from his gate. Brett sort of did his best to find some cover on him, but just sort of wasn't able to do that, and as a result, he sort of was up there facing the breeze, doing it, you know, pretty hard early. I think he did a good job to stick on like he did. You know, to only go down by, I think, 2.5, 3 lengths, something like that. He showed a lot of fight, but yeah, he's a horse with a good future.
More generally, it's pretty exciting this time of the autumn, isn't it? Like whether you look to, of course, Sydney racing or even the Blue Diamond where Mexico might end up. Yeah,
look, this time of year in spring, I mean, for us, you know, trainers, jockeys, owners, it's our sort of our main time of year, and particularly for me with quite a few 2-year-olds. Obviously, the Sydney autumn's, you know, where it's sort of mainly happening, but the Blue Diamond we've got in Melbourne Saturday week, so Mexico might go down there. We'll just sort of see how he goes over the rest of this week. But yeah, it's a great time of year. It's probably the time of year you've got to try and make your money.
Well, it's pretty true, our show's title. He's very friendly, isn't he? Racing Dreams. And it's accessible to everyone. I've got little bits of shares here and there, like a lot of people do. I think, 1 in 200 odd people have a share in a horse, and you don't need to be the wealthiest person on the street to be involved in this and have some very huge highs.
Oh, absolutely. There's lots of stories over the years, my stable, but plenty of other stables too, where these syndicated horses with people with small shares have been able to participate in some of the biggest races on the calendar. So I think it's a game that everyone can get involved in for sure. It's just up to them as to what level they want to do that.
Finally, one of those moments of adulation was, of course, your Golden Slipper win was just a couple of years ago, and we were talking over at that stable. How do you remember that time? It's in your recent memory.
Recent memory's good. The week after, I don't remember much. It was a big week of celebrations. But yeah, look, to sort of get a win like that, sort of second year back from being in Hong Kong was a huge thrill.
Stay inside, 4 lengths clear from the fast finishing Adamo, and stay inside, Tommy Berry wins his 3rd Golden Slipper.
And he's a great example of a bunch of guys that, some of them had 2.5% and 5% shares in a horse like that, and had the thrill of winning a Golden Slipper. So it was a big thrill, and certainly helped me sort of get re-established back here, and hopefully we can try and do it again this year.
It is great to have your company on Racing Dreams, and nothing excites me more than heading out on the open road and going to a race meeting in the country, Julie. And the road to the country championships is well underway. Today we are off down south.
Southern District CEO of the Albury Racing Club, Steve Heatherton, joins us now. Good morning to you, Steve.
Good morning, Tim.
Now, we've seen 3 good heats already at Foster, Coffs Harbour and Mudgee. It's Albury's time to shine. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it's one of the real strong fields that's been assembled this year. So there's a lot of talk. The SDRA, our area, is going to could produce a couple of real horses that are in the odds when they get to the championship final in Sydney. So, the talk amongst the trainers is they're very confident that we're the strongest heat we've had since 2015. So that's exciting, and we've obviously got a great day planned as well off the track.
Yeah, I've been having a look at what you do have planned off the track. You've got the Championships marquee, you've got the trackside umbrellas, you're following Sydney's lead, and you've got a DJ afterwards as well. How have preparations been for you and the team, and how have ticket sales been as well?
Yeah, really good. We've obviously just got our carnival around the corner as well, so good preparation for that. I think, summer racing, it's going to be 32 degrees here today. People will get out in force. There's a great day to be had. There's, as you say, DJs. We've got bands behind the grandstand for the 40 plus. We've got DJs for the 18 to 35s. There's TAB interactions. We've got a couple of food trucks. So yeah, great day all around and perfect weather to boot.
How good have the initiatives been for you guys from the team at Racing New South Wales when you think of the country championships, then you move on to the big dance, the little dance?
Yeah, Tim, amazing. I mean, I talked to Donna Scott, one of the leading contenders for that race today as a trainer, and she was telling me it's her favourite race. So it's races like this that people get up and about. We get excited by it. I mean, this is the second richest race we have in our region behind our cup, which is in March. So, $150,000, then buying for $500,000 and 2 horses go through. So it's fair to say our members get excited as well, not just the owners. It's a great day for our club, great opportunity for our region, and the pubs, the clubs, and all the restaurants will be full tonight as well.
That's the thing. It means so much to regional centres, and we're seeing it's, the calendar move around each year, which is so fantastic for you guys. We're talking about $150,000, as you just touched on, the $500,000 final to run at Randwick. You're saying you've got some really strong contenders for this year's Southern Districts heat. How soon are the trainers out there starting to think ahead to these sort of concepts and think about their runners and contenders?
Yeah, they're planning 6 to 12 months out. There's no doubt about it. So they're looking at the class of horse, the qualifications, where they're placing the horse. There are some trainers that will just let it happen, and some will plan for it. So there's a couple of very astute trainers in this region, and they know how to win this race and get to Sydney and perform on that day as well. And that goes for Wagga as well. There's some great trainers up there and great horses in Wagga, as well as Albury. Corowa, we had, front page winning the Kosciuszko last year.
Oh, yeah,
just
absolutely.
K's down the road as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I've got a few shares in a few horses that are trained in the country, and when you think of highways, so many opportunities for so many people. Look, I tell you what, I say this very genuinely. I'm disappointed that I'm not there with you today at Albury and going to one of those restaurants tonight. I love the town, and thanks so much for coming on Racing Dreams.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Good luck today. Well, there is a new movement in the racing industry that's out to debunk harmful myths and misinformation about the sport.
Kick Up is driven by a group of young, passionate racing enthusiasts who want to present accurate information on controversial topics in an engaging, educational and interesting way.
Kick Up was established because a lot of our team were getting particularly frustrated around Melbourne Cup Day every year about having to defend horse racing to their peers and to family who didn't know enough about it, and unfortunately had a very unfair opinion of the sport. And that stemmed largely from fatalities in the Melbourne Cup, which a lot of people believe is the norm for the industry, when in actual fact it's 48 times the rate of any other normal horse race. So whilst a lot of these people are genuine in their concerns about the industry, it's actually founded on a very unfair basis that's been perpetuated through the activists over recent years, touting statistics that are simply untrue and making unfair assumptions about our industry. So Kick Out has set out to correct a lot of those untruths by providing the industry with accurate information so that they can have those conversations and address those issues in a normal conversation with someone. We break down a lot of those inaccuracies in these common questions, things like what happens to the slow horses, why do horses get nosebleeds. There's a whole bunch of questions that are addressed there. So if you find yourself in an awkward position talking to someone at a barbecue, or when you're out for dinner, you can actually pull up our website and directly refer to it and respond to questions. Another reason that I was motivated is you can actually see the impact quite quickly. A lot of these people, largely on social media, hide behind these aliases, and they are really virtue signalling. So there's no substance to a lot of what they're saying and to a lot of what they believe. In fact, once a year they might post about horse racing, and that is it. So they don't understand the hundreds of thousands of horses and races that go on every single day in our country. The hypocrisy is actually really, really frustrating and quite irritating for a lot of us. I intend on working my whole career in this industry. I'm 35 now. I've still got hopefully another 30 or 40 years to go, and I want to make sure that it's here for everyone to enjoy in the future, that we're all working towards making sure it's, that this amazing career that has given us this wonderful life is still going to be around.
Well, it's a big day of Group 1 racing at Royal Randwick today, so let's bring back our resident tipster, Brad Gray. He's very, very popular on this program for Racing Dreams. Sartorially elegant. He's competing with Ray Thomas.
Yeah.
How are you, my man?
Yeah, good, thank you, guys. That's a pretty lofty benchmark there, comparing with the great man Ray Thomas. But at the moment, we're just battling a few cockies around here. So if you hear them screeching, I promise you that's not me screeching tips at you. That's these birds just making a nuisance of themselves.
Never work with children, never work with animals. That's the rule of television, so this could be really interesting. Let's go through the day ahead. We have a big day at Randwick, stunning conditions at Randwick as well. We'll start with race 3, the Skyline Stakes.
Yeah, of course, the Skyline is for the 2-year-old colts and geldings. So we've got the favourite at the moment, that is Shinzo. He's hard enough to beat, but I thought there was a bet here with Gabe Waterhouse and Adrian Bott. Now, they're a stable at the moment who not only are doing really well across all age groups, but their 2-year-olds are running through brick walls at the moment. And Gambare, he was a real eye-catcher there in the English Millennium a couple of weeks ago. Only the winner and the current Golden Slipper favourite, Learning to Fly, had faster closing splits than him. So his breeding suggests he'll get further again, but out to 1,200 metres, and if Regan Bayless can just offset that tricky gate, I think he's a really good gamble today at each way odds. I think he's around $9, $10, and I think that's a good quote for him.
Huge focus on the Sweet Embrace Stakes for the 2-year-olds, and we spoke to Michael Friedman. He's got Blanc de Blanc. She's drawn wide, James McDonald on board, but a win here will see her go through to the slipper.
Yeah, how good are these 2-year-old races at the moment? Because the dynamic of these Golden Slipper picture, it just changes from race to race, from week to week, not only the market, but also the makeup of the field. So she's going to be hard enough to beat. She will need a little bit of luck in the early stages finding a spot, but I can't go outside the Queenslander here. So skirt the law, so undefeated. She, of course, comes here a last start winner of the Magic Millions. A little freshen up since then. She trialled like a rocket. Tony Golden, who has a really good handle on 2-year-olds, has come out and said that she's the best of the lot that he's ever trained. So certainly take that on board. She's got gate speed, should be able to offset that wide draw herself. I imagine she goes straight to the front. I don't think they'll know which way she went. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, guys, if we see a new Golden Slipper favourite after today.
Oh, interesting, interesting. Race 7, the Group 1 Surround Stakes. This one's for the fillies.
Yeah, it is, and the Light Fingers, of course, is the key lead-up going into this. The Light Fingers was a bit of a tricky race to assess because there wasn't a lot between the first 9 or 10 across the line there. It was a slowly run race. They sprinted home, but I think in the end, the best filly won, that being In Secret. So she's had the best preparation as far as the main chances in this race go. Zugotcha has to be some kind of threat. She missed the Light Fingers with a little temperature spike. Never ideal, but we will back Chris Waller to get that right. But In Secret, she looks hard to beat. The only little chink in her armour at the moment is she's just got this half a habit of being slow away at the start. So Hugh Bowman goes back on today. If he can get her to start, begin, and just camp in behind the speed here, I think she's got an engine that'll see her finish right over the top once again.
Animo. What about Animo?
What about Animo? What do we do in terms of making $1 out of this race? He's $1.65. I don't know if you can back him at $1.65. Maybe we take the Quinella. He's, of course, the horse to beat. You put the writing on the wall there first up to suggest that he's returned as well as ever, chasing his 8th Group 1. It's been said over the past week just how good he is, and he's verging on champion status if he isn't already. Maybe we take Quinella with Fangirl. This drying track suits her. The drier, the better. We saw her rattle home into the finish there behind Animo in the Apollo Stakes. First up, she's returned in really good order, and when you've got a trainer like Chris Waller breathing down your neck in terms of a Chipping Norton, he has won 10 of the past 12 Chipping Nortons, so that's something to be wary of. I guess if you were taking the $1.65, but yeah, maybe the way we win out $1 from the race is take the Quinella, that being Animo and Fangirl.
All right, let's go through your best bets and your roughies for today now, Brad.
Yeah, best bet for me is the filly, the Queenslander, Skirt the Law, so that comes up a little bit earlier in the program. Now, as far as a couple of roughies that I think we can back, Profondo. Now, the price has gone just a touch there, but he comes up a little bit later. He's in race 9, the Liverpool City Cup. Now, I know he hasn't won for 71 weeks, but 7 of his 10 career starts have been in Group 1, so he's really well placed today. Nice and fresh, 1,300 metres. He can take advantage of a lack of speed and put himself right there. And one in the lucky last. He's a big front-running grey, much, much better. I think he goes straight to the front, and he's going to prove very hard to chase down. So that's race 10, much, much better. All
right, there you go. We'll have a little $1 each way, and we'll come back and assess how you've gone. We'll do that next Saturday with our lens looking back. But Brad, enjoy the races. Great to have you on the program, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Great to be back.
Nice little cameo from the Cockies too.
Absolutely lovely. Bit of Australian natural noise there. Wonderful to have your company on Racing Dreams. What about the life of a jockey? There's little doubt they are some of the bravest sports people of all. Brenton Avdulla went from a near career-ending fall to a slipper win, of course, on Fireburn. He's in great form already, heading into the autumn. He won on Cylinder in the Silver Slipper, and I caught up with him for a chat.
Bravely in the lead from Coolangatta, coming through is Fireburn with a big run off the fence, and Fireburn charges home and gives Gary Portelli second golden slipper.
And somehow Avdulla has weaved a passage, and the filly has gone on to win the golden slipper, giving Avdulla another win.
Brenton Avdulla, it's hard to believe that it's just a few weeks away from the golden slipper. Does it seem a year ago?
No, it comes around very quick. Yeah, I spoke to you, a week or two before the slipper last year, and what a fruitful couple of weeks it ended up turning out to be. So looking forward to obviously a big carnival this season.
You hit the ground running, didn't you? I'll take credit for that interview, but that was outstanding. How do you reflect on it a year on?
Yeah, it'll always be pretty special with just the lead up to it. Obviously having that fall that I thought could have been career ending, and then yeah, back within the first sort of couple of weeks, I'd ridden a Group 1 winner on Hinged, and then to pick up a Golden Slipper on the way through, and then have an affinity with Fireburn, who then went to win the size and just missed a Triple Crown. So crazy. It was a crazy sort of 6-month period for me, and yeah, you know, feeling good now. So hopefully we can find another one.
How long did it take you to get back to full health, do you think, after a fall like that and the scenes out of the hospital? They were all pretty grim.
Yeah, look, I was recovering for 6 months. You know, 6 months from when I fell to basically when I rode. But I felt like, you know, that whole first 6 weeks of riding, I wasn't 100% fit, just sort of working into it. But I suppose, you know, when you're riding a Group 1 winner, I think, you know, like I said, within the first 7 days, everything just sort of clicks into gear. And mentally, I felt good, but the body probably wasn't there yet. But, you know, 12 months on now, the body's, you know, as good as it can be, and looking forward to it.
Oh, you'll never forget 2022. It was a cracking year for you. Ellsberg, the dead heat, did you think you'd won that? Yeah, I actually did. I actually thought I won. I think Huey thought I won. So to share it with him was obviously very special. And, you know, Ellsberg, he obviously had a fat prep. You know, I was able to, he won a couple of other $1 million races, and he's had an injury now, so I'll be missing him. But, yeah, that was, like I said, finding those good horses at that time of year, it's always pretty special. You found another good horse in the Everest. I know that you didn't quite get the chocolates, but second in the Everest is still extraordinary with Private Eye.
Giga Kick down the outside wins the Everest. The unbeaten 3-year-old's done it. Giga Kick beat Private Eye.
Yeah, he's a really talented horse. He's a a Group 1 winner at a mile. But Joe kept him short last prep, and it rewarded some good some good money. He obviously won the $3 million race at Rose Hill. He ran second in the Everest, and then on the back up he just didn't fire as well in the Champions Mile. But look, he's obviously going to be set for a new market into a TJ and an All Age, I think. And there's no reason why he can't be very competitive in those and then look for another Everest tilt. How excited are you at this stage, the early days of the autumn? Yeah, very excited. Look, we haven't really got a lot set in stone, but it's that time of year where, if you could just be jogging on the spot in the right place at the right time, things can happen. So well, it's always the unknown, and I'm just preparing as good as I can, and then hopefully we can find one or two on the way. Well, remember, last time we spoke, you hit the ground running. Here you go again. Go get him, Brenton. Cheers, Tim.
Cylinder's knuckling down now. Cylinder goes to Platinum Jubilee, and Cylinder went home best.
Yeah, it was a very good win on Cylinder, so he's already in good form, and hopefully we will see you next week. Racing Dreams, we're back, Julie.
We are back indeed. Of course, as always, thank you to our great sponsors, Racing New South Wales, Arrowfield. It was lovely to see John Masara this morning and catch up with him. We've got a very big season ahead. It is only just started.
Have a little dabble on Blanc de Blanc today. I think have a little dabble on Blanc de Blanc to head off to the Golden Slipper. Then you can have a little tipple of Blanc de Blanc. We'll see you next week.